What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Revival. My name is JJ, and yes, I'm late to the party once again, but it is time for my top 5 games of 2022. I always tend to come in to like my top games of a year later than most people, and that's usually because I want to finish something up. And in this case, I wanted to finish up Star Ocean, which came out last year, obviously, but it did not make the list, needless to say. So I really didn't have to, I guess, and I could have probably done this sooner. But either way, I'm glad I finished it because I wanted to get it because I talked about that series and that game on Pixel Perspective, so. You can hear me talk about that on there. But 2022 overall was a pretty darn solid year for gaming. There was a lot of great stuff that came out, and quite frankly, like, as hard as I am on the Switch most of the time because of Nintendo's decisions and everything, the game lineup is there. It's amazing, and last year was incredible for them. They knocked it out of the park, and it's not the first time they've done that, so it was really cool to see. And I had a really tough time putting this list in order because there were a handful of games that I really wanted to put on here, but ultimately, as you do, I had to knock it down to 5. I know a lot of places, a lot of channels and people stuff do top 10s. I am always worried I'm not going to play 10 new games in a year, so and I want to avoid like putting games on there just because I played them and, making it part of my top 10. Like, if I only played 11 games, chances are there's going to be a couple on there that aren't very good. So I try to just, like, keep it to what is the best of the best, in my opinion, and what I loved and had a good time playing. So, obviously, that just goes into saying this is, disclaimer, this is my list. It is just my opinion. These are games that I personally loved, had a good time with, and that if you disagree, that's fine. You probably will on a couple of these. But these are the ones that hit me the hardest and stuck with me the most. So, yeah, let's just get into it. Coming in at number 5 is a game that came out early in the year that was a total surprise to me. I did not expect it to be as good as it was, nor myself like as into it as I was. And that is Pokemon Legends Arceus. Man, there are some complaints about, obviously, the visuals and the world feeling a bit empty at times. And I totally get that. Those are completely valid. But I don't know, there was just something about the gameplay loop that really, really hit me. Like, just doing the missions and then trying to complete the Pokedex. I've said this before, but the only thing I didn't do in this game was just get to, like, rank 10. Which I think is the highest on the thing. Whatever the highest rank is, I got one below it. Because I looked at the rewards and it just didn't seem worth it. I had already caught everything else. I'd done all the side quests, got all the legendaries, beat the main story and the post-game stuff. There was just... I loved it. I had a blast with it. And I would love to see another, like I hope they do a Pokemon Legends series. Just pick another legendary one and run with it. Like, make another game with similar gameplay and everything like that. Adrian and I talked about the visuals and where they should take it on that regard, with Scarlet and Violet and that kind of thing. But I think this could be its own thing, and I really, really would like to see that. So fingers crossed that they keep moving forward with something along the lines of this, because I really, really enjoyed the hell out of this game. Coming in at number 4 is a game that I don't have physically. I would like to get it physically. I'm sure I will at some point, but play Stray, if you haven't. It is so fantastic, it's so short, and it's so good. Even if you're not a cat person, you will be by the end. It's so fantastic. It's really, really good. It made me freaking, like, bawl my eyes out at the end, and not for the reasons that you would expect. it's just very, very much one of those games that tugs at your heartstrings and just makes you want to keep going, but at the same time you're afraid to keep going because you can, like, you're just always afraid of something happening and what's coming around the corner. But at the same time, it's so well told and such a beautifully just crafted world that they made. And I don't know that they necessarily need a sequel, but I would not be opposed to learning more about that world within. That's all I'll say, because I don't want to, like, go into spoilers and everything, because it's really something everybody should experience. Again, I would love to get it physically at some point, and I'm sure I will. I played it on PS5. It's so good, you guys. Seriously, like, check it out. I was curious when I first heard that it was coming out. I thought the trailers looked kind of interesting, and I was like, oh, cool, it's about a cat, and you're just exploring the post-apocalyptic city. That sounds neat. Man, it blew me away. Completely took me by surprise, and I'm sure part of it is, now that I have Locke, I become more of a cat person in that regard, and so I really liked it for that reason. And, he liked, actually, like, he was one of the cats that, you see everybody taking pictures and videos of their cats watching the game being played, so he was very much like that. Especially the meow sound that you could make with a controller. He enjoyed that as well. He was, every time I had it on, he was either right there next to me or he was sitting in front of the TV blocking, like, me from seeing part of it, because he was just watching this cat on the screen and seeing the world around him. And it's an experience, and I really think everybody should give it a chance, especially if you don't think it's for you, because I guarantee you'll find something there to appreciate. Coming in at number 3 is a game that was probably one of those that people will probably disagree with me on, especially being at number 3, but I freaking loved it, and I had a blast with Triangle Strategy on the Switch. Goofy name, totally get that, and I completely agree, but the game and the story within is so good. I really, really enjoyed the hell out of it. I would love to go back and play it again at some point just to experience one of the other endings, because there are several, and it's not one of those games that, like, a lot of times when you hear about video games and they tell you your choices matter and, that kind of thing, it's more or less like they don't really matter. You might get some different dialogue and that kind of thing, and there's some exceptions. There are some games that do it really well. This is one of those. Your choices absolutely matter. You, like, maybe 3/4 of the way through the game, you make a couple of decisions that affect how the last quarter of the game is going to play. So you're going to be doing a completely different, like, outcome, like, from a while back, rather than just, like, making one decision and having it just affect the ending, and that's it. There are a bunch of things that lead up to the final moments of this game, and those final moments are completely different from one another. It's fantastic. I really, really enjoyed the hell out of this. It's not going to be for everybody, I understand that, and frankly, it's not going to, like, it's not the best tactical RPG I've ever played. It's solid, though. It's good. It's like, I would put it like with Shining Force. Like, it's really, really easy to learn, but tough to master. And I wouldn't even go that far. It's really not, like, it's not hard to master either. It's very, very simple, but you do have to think and plan about what you're going to do, which characters you're going to use, and that kind of thing. I really, really cannot stress how good the story is, or how much I enjoyed it, at least, in this game. And if you are a fan of story-based gaming, this is one to check out. If you're just doing it for the gameplay, I don't know that I could recommend it necessarily, because there are better tactical RPGs, obviously. But as far as the story goes, top-notch. Okay, so my 2 and my 1. This was tough, because both games are fantastic. One game is amazing and one of the best games I've ever played, but I didn't have a ton of fun with it. And the other game, I had tons of fun with it, and it just resonated with me, but I know there's not that mass appeal for it. So it was just really tough for me to, like, weigh out how I wanted to do this, and ultimately I just stuck with the game that I spent the most time with and the one that I ended up loving more. So coming in, and I'm sure if you've heard me talk on Pixel Perspective, you probably know these two games. Coming in at number 2 is Elden Ring. This game is phenomenal. It is loaded with mass appeal, even if you're not a, like, Souls fan or anything like that. You don't like brutally hard games. You don't like stuff with, like, reaction time and RPG components. and that kind of stuff. The visuals, the exploration alone are enough to make you like appreciate what this is and what it does. You don't even have to like complete any bosses or anything. Literally just fire up the game and just run around the world and you'll see what I mean. It's spectacular. Easily one of the best games I've ever played, hands down. Like I've said before though, the problem is I didn't have a whole lot of fun with it. The only times I really had fun was when I was like playing with Adrian and his brother, and like we would do co-op stuff together, and it was a blast. I really enjoyed the hell out of that stuff. But I'm just not super in love with bashing my face against a wall to take down bosses over and over and over and over and over again. I like to just move on and get to the next story segment and that kind of thing. And I didn't really pay attention to the story. I never do in any of these games. I just kind of like to get through them because I appreciate the visuals and the world building and that kind of stuff. And there's tons here to appreciate. And that includes like boss design and just... You really have to experience this for yourself. It's spectacular. And do you know how like crazy that is for me to say like a game I didn't have that much fun with when I was playing by myself? Granted, a game that I didn't have that much fun with is my number 2 for the entire year. This game is spectacular. Seriously. I can't imagine most of you watching haven't already played this, so I'm sure most of you probably would assume this is your number 1 as well. For me though, I did have a little more fun with another game, but that is not to diminish what this game is, what it did right, and just how highly I recommend this to everybody I talk to. And coming in at number 1, you've heard me, you know, if you listen to Pig's Perspective, you heard me gush about it 1,000 times over, put like 100 plus hours into it. That is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. This is one that I, again, can't recommend to everybody, especially the time commitment, because it is a really long game. But man, I loved the story. I loved the characters. I loved the combat. I loved everything about this game. It was so wonderful. Character recruitment was great. I did pretty much everything except take down a few of the like late game bosses, like the ultimate high level boss things. But I did all the side quests and all the main quests and everything like that. And I love how they tied in the first 2 games as well. It's so good, you guys. Seriously, like if you have a Switch and you just want to see what that system can do, if you're somebody who has a Switch and you're on the side of like, well, the Switch is less powerful than the other consoles, it can't really do as much, check this out because you'll see what it can do. I'm not saying it's on the level of this. I'm not saying that at all. But as far as like just being impressed with what they were able to pull off, it was the same with Xenoblade Chronicles X on Wii U. Like, those of us that played it were like, I didn't think the Wii U could do this kind of thing. This is crazy. It's the same kind of feeling that I got. When I played it on the Switch, I was like, damn, okay. And the story is like nothing I've ever seen before. So I just really enjoyed the hell out of it. But again, it is that time commitment. It is tough to recommend to everybody unless you're already like a fan of the series. And frankly, I would recommend playing Xenoblade 1 and 2 before playing this. Because it does tie up all 3 games pretty nicely. So, but as far as out of the 3, this is the best. And as far as all the games that I played that were brand new in 2022, this is my number 1. So there you have it, guys. My top 5 of 2022. I've got more games coming on my top 100. I actually have 80 of the reviews written now. So I am obviously I'm releasing videos slowly, over several weeks, and so I'll like do this bit by bit. But basically, I just need to get these last 20 written, and then once that's done, I will literally just start recording voiceovers for all the scripts that I have. And then once that's done, I can just go on a mass editing spree and knock them all out at once, and then I can, get them out there to you guys, because I'm enjoying putting that together, but it is a lot of work. So, and that's with the minimal editing, and you've seen my channel. I'm not like a wizard when it comes to this kind of stuff. I just kind of put together what I think works and is good enough for me. So, but it does still take a lot of time to do. So, but I appreciate your guys' patience. Let me know, what were your top 5 games of 2022? Was there something I missed? I know a lot of people are thinking God of War, where's it at, blah, blah. I haven't even played the first one yet. So, but I will be playing that this year. So we shall see. And if I love it enough, then I will probably dive into the second one at some point. So just forgive me on that. I just haven't played it. So yeah, but tell me what you played last year, what you thought was great. What are your opinions on my list and my order and all that stuff? Yeah, other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You know the drill. And as always, keep on gaming.